"Excuse me, miss. Can I get by you?" Alyssa snapped out of her daze to blink hard at the can of tomatoes she held in her hand. She looked at the woman beside her trying to get to the spaghetti sauce in front of her. How long had she zoned out? She blushed in embarrassment and moved to the other side of the aisle, giving a deep sigh before running a hand through her long dark hair. She suddenly didn't feel like shopping anymore. All she wanted to do was leave. Putting the can of tomatoes on a shelf, she walked out and went straight to her car. Once inside the comfort of her Volkswagen, she sat and closed her eyes. She never used to live in a constant fog, never used to zone out in public. All that changed when the car crash happened, when her three best friends, Elizabeth, Carrie, and Debbie, died en route coming to see her for her birthday. One stupid drunk driver and a phone call had created the dark fog she now lived in. Like the sorrow, it was a constant. Her new best friend who once three beautiful souls had been. Alyssa felt the tears welling in her eyes just thinking about that horrible day and the hollow emptiness that followed. She didn't dare go home now, or else the fog would swallow her whole. She decided to drive to Banner's coffee shop for a cup of coffee, to face the night alone later on. Alyssa was thankful when she saw the parking lot was nearly empty. She didn't want to be around anyone. All she wanted to do was get her coffee and go. The small coffee shop was quiet inside, just the sound of fresh brewing coffee and the soft sound of the ticking wall clock. It was comforting, this near sound of silence. The owner of the coffee shop, Mr. Whitaker, gave her a soft smile as she walked in. "What can I get for you, Alyssa?" he asked. "Black coffee and a glazed donut?" She forced a smile and replied, "Yes, sir, that will be fine." He wiped his hands on his apron and said, "Just made some fresh donuts. Let me get one for you," and disappeared to the back of the shop. The ringing of the front doorbell made Alyssa turn her head to see who was coming in to break the comforting silence, and saw it was Mr. Kingston, the owner of Kingston Mall. He was a calm and gentle man who had the look of a cross between Santa Claus and Colonel Sanders, even dressed in his trademark brown tweed blazer and black slacks. The scent of warm cigars and cologne followed him as he approached Alyssa. "Hello, Alyssa. Good to see you out and about." "Hello, Mr. Kingston," she near whispered. He gave her a thoughtful look before saying quietly, "I know you've been having a rough time since your friends passed. I wish there was something I could do to help." Alyssa didn't reply, just looked down and tried to keep from crying. "I don't know if you have heard, but tomorrow the mall will be torn down," he continued. "Over the years, I wasn't making enough to keep it open, so it's going to be demolished and made into extra parking space for other places nearby." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a key. "You know, if you wanted to, you could go by tonight and walk through it. Say your goodbyes. I know you and your friends used to love going there. Maybe it might help you feel better." Alyssa stared at the key. "I don't know, Mr. Kingston," she replied hesitantly. He pressed the key into her hand and said in a loving, fatherly tone, "Go. If it can help you heal, go. Just walk around the place. Tomorrow it's going to be gone." He didn't let her refuse. He gave her a smile and left right after. Alyssa looked at the key as she drank her coffee. Kingston Mall, the place she and her friends all went to every weekend to hang out, gossip, dream, and talk about who they were going to be when they got older. That place was the center point of so many memories. Would visiting there make her feel better or worse? She didn't know. But she knew, like her friends, once someone or something was gone forever, there was no turning around or going back. What else did she have to look forward to? Another night at home alone? She held tightly onto the key as she grabbed her purse, and drove over to Kingston Mall. Alyssa parked close to the entrance and slowly approached the door. She hadn't been here in so long, so many years, almost 15 years in fact. It felt strange to come and the place be so deserted. Unlocking the front door, she was greeted by the sight of the bare, hollow space and still brightly painted yellow and orange walls. Her footsteps created loud echoes as she walked in further, her eyes taking in the signs of neglect and decay, the dead potted plants and falling apart ceiling. It actually hurt to see everything that was once so beautiful look this way. It made her very soul ache. Still, she was here, and she wanted to see it all before it was gone. So she walked in further to the heart of the mall and stopped in front of the largest and biggest fountain within the mall. Once upon a time, it had been glorious, very tall, very beautiful, one large angel statue in the middle of two smaller ones. It was the fountain she, Elizabeth, Carrie, and Debbie used to sit and talk on and have lunch on, the one they threw their pennies into and made wishes for good grades, boys, or to be beautiful. A stab of pain shot through Alyssa as she looked at it now. The baby blue concrete was bare and cracked, the paint peeling off the once gold angel heads. No more making wishes. The fountain was dry. Still, Alyssa took a penny from her pocket and gently threw it into the fountain, whispering, "I just want to see my friends again." Then she sat with her back up against the fountain. She put her head in her hands and she started to cry. She cried for the sadness that wouldn't let her be. She cried for all the conversations she wouldn't get to have again. She cried for all the beauty the mall once had and disappeared. She was crying so hard it took a moment to realize she heard the sound of music around her. Culture Club's Time playing. When she lifted her head from her hands, her mouth dropped. The place was alive again. Everything looked the same as it had 20 years ago. People shopping, the bright lights. She got up from the floor, looking around in astonishment. What was going on? And then she looked back at the fountain to see all three of her friends sitting and talking, drinking berry slushies, and Elizabeth on her cell phone. "Alyssa, you dork," Elizabeth smiled. "We've been waiting here for you for an hour. Hurry up and get here, or we're going to make you buy us all cinnamon rolls from Barry's." Elizabeth, Carrie, and Debbie all chimed in with, "Yeah, yeah." And then Elizabeth added into the phone, "Hurry up, we miss you, bye," and then hung up. Carrie turned to Elizabeth and said, "What are we going to do about Alyssa's birthday? Should we get her a new Depeche Mode cassette or what?" "Either that or Duran Duran," Carrie said, sipping her slushie. "Maybe we can get both." "Yeah, we should do both," Debbie smiled. "Anything for a bestie." They held up their left hands that bore their friendship rings and chimed, "Best friends forever." And then in an instant, everything that Alyssa saw was gone. Alyssa stood still in absolute shock. What had just happened? What she just saw? It wasn't one of her memories. She wasn't there when it happened. And then it hit her. She looked at the fountain. "This was one of your memories," she whispered. "You were granting my wish." Tears welled up in her eyes. "You were giving me the last of your memories before you are gone too." Taking another penny out of her pocket, she threw it into the well and said, "I wish there was something I could do for you." In seconds, she heard a noise above her head and looked up to see cracks appear below all three angel heads. She backed up a bit and watched as both the smaller and larger heads fell into the dry fountain well. Then she saw the deep blue tiles start falling off the sides of the fountain. She picked up the largest angel head, and a tear was falling from one of its eyes. Alyssa spotted a bunch of old plastic shopping bags nearby on the floor and gathered up all three heads and the tiles. There was no earthly reason why the tiles and the heads had fallen off, none except for the fact the fountain itself was telling her that it wanted to go with her, that whatever spirit was in the fountain did not want to be destroyed. Alyssa loaded everything into her car with the idea of what the fountain wanted her to do. 2 weeks later. It was late evening when Alyssa returned home from her new job. The day had been hard, but she had smiled all day because she knew what was at home waiting afterwards. She took a shower and drank a cup of tea as she stared at the cement fountain she had created that sat on her living room floor. All 3 angel heads had been secured at the top, and the blue tiles covered the sides and base. Lighting some candles, she turned off the lights and put on Culture Club. Taking a penny from her pocket, she dropped it into the fountain. "I'd like to see my friends tonight," she whispered, then went to the kitchen for more tea, not turning around until she heard Elizabeth say, "Hurry up, you dork! You gonna keep us waiting again?" Alyssa turned and smiled as she saw Elizabeth, Carrie, and Debbie sitting at the table waiting for her, as they always did whenever Alyssa made her fountain wish.